AITA for planning to dump my fiancée because she is toxic to her family? I have had a wonderful relationship with my M34 fiancée Ruby, F32, for the past few years. I genuinely care about her, and I could easily spend hours listing all the things I admire. For the sake of time, though, just know that I believed we were a perfect match. However, I recently had an epiphany regarding Ruby's behavior. From the beginning, she spoke about how toxic her family was and how much she resented them. Despite this, she remained in frequent contact with them. Over time, I've come to the difficult and painful realization that it's not her family that's toxic, it's Ruby. I have many stories about her mistreating her family, but I'll highlight just a few. A little over a year ago, we were celebrating her parents' anniversary, and she repeatedly pressured her brother Will, M30, to drink, even though he struggled with alcohol in the past and had been sober for 3 years. Ruby insisted at least 7 to 9 times, and though Will declined politely each time, she wouldn't let up. It wasn't until he firmly told her no, and I reminded her of his previous refusals, that she stopped. But even then, she remained passive-aggressive towards him for the rest of the night until he apologized. 8 months ago, Ruby's older sister Janet, F36, had a very difficult divorce and fell into depression afterwards. Now, Ruby, on more than one occasion, told Janet that she'd come visit her to cheer her up but then would cancel at the last minute. In private, she admitted to me that she just didn't feel like it or held petty grudges against Janet from years ago. This behavior infuriated me because I hate when people raise expectations only to disappoint. When I told her it was unkind, on several occasions, she brushed it off, saying Janet would get over it each and every time. Every so often, when Ruby gets frustrated with work, she calls her mom and yells at her, blaming her and her father for pushing her into this career. On several occasions, she's yelled at her parents until her mother has begun to cry. On top of all of this, Ruby regularly asks her family for favors, and if they are unable to comply, she'll cut communication with them for weeks until they cave to her demands. It's really jarring, really. Ruby treats me and her friends with kindness, but her cruelty toward her family is undeniable and difficult to look past. Even her friends have noticed, and when they joke about it, Ruby dismisses it and insists her family doesn't mind. The worst interaction Ruby has is with her younger sister, Ethel, F29. Ruby constantly belittles and criticizes Ethel over the smallest things. It's horrible because I've seen firsthand how smug and happy Ruby can get whenever she puts Ethel down. I've heard Ruby tell Ethel things like "know your place" and "don't forget your place" so many times at this point, it's frankly exhausting. I know it probably sounds trivial or petty, but seeing how Ruby interacts with her family has unsettled me. I want children someday, and I don't want them growing up in an environment where this behavior is seen as normal. After considerable thought and reflection, I plan to leave Ruby in the near future. Continuing this relationship would be dishonest, just as I've lied to myself for years, pretending her behavior wasn't an issue. Some of the people I've confided in think I'm overreacting or being unfair, given how devoted Ruby is to me and how this behavior doesn't directly affect me. While they may not be entirely wrong, I still can't see a future with her. AITA? Edit, for those wondering why I haven't left yet, it's because my new lease doesn't start until October 21st. Ruby and I currently live together in an apartment that's under her name, but we split the rent by alternating months. I paid for September, even though it was her turn, to make things easier. I'll also cover October's rent before I leave to help reduce any hard feelings.